Welcome to Between the Pillars. In this video I continue the short series about Hod, the eighth sephira on the tree of life. Last time I talked about the evolution of consciousness and basic intelligent or intellectual capabilities. In this video I will cover the differences between ideas and thoughts, the intellect karma cycle, and the interaction between Netzach and Hod. According to the Kabbalistic model, the world comprises four universes: Atziluth, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asya. Divine creative impulses enter the world at Kether of Atziluth and trickle down the tree of life until they reach Malkuth of Asya. Atziluth is the world of ideation. Bria is the world of creative imagination. Yetzirah is the world of formation, and Asya is the world of making. We can observe these four levels also in ourselves. When we get a new idea, this idea will kickstart our imagination. Imagination triggers thinking processes, and thoughts initiate action. Of course, we don't function yet in Atziluth and Bria. In the case of personal creativity, Tifereth stands for Atziluth and ideation. Tifereth conveys its ideas through the imaginative intelligence to Netzach, the highest personality sphere, which relays it to Hod, the intellectual sphere. Ideation is abstract and intentional. For example, the intentional idea to communicate with someone afar. On the creative level, the intentional idea of communicating with someone afar takes the vision of a device that allows us to do so. On this level, also multiplication may take place. We could envision different types of telephones. At this point, also naming takes place. When Alexander Graham Bell had the vision of a telephone, he didn't know yet how it could function. That's where the next phase came in. During the intellectual phase, Bell figured out how a telephone could work. During the fourth phase, Bell produced the telephone. This conforms with the evolution of consciousness mentioned in the previous video. Recap: awareness evolves to consciousness, and consciousness evolves to intelligence. So awareness is the part where we become aware of an idea. Consciousness means we understand the idea, which allows us to imagine a solution. Intelligence then means we figure out how to realize the visualization of our idea. Creative ideas come from the above, and they arrive the same way as wisdom, through initiation. We can't arrive at creative ideas from experience. Tifereth receives creative ideas from Bina through the 17th path, the lovers. Mind that the 17th path is the disposing or differentiating intelligence. Remember, differentiation enables intelligence. Tifereth relays Briatic ideas to Hod through the 27th path, the renewing intelligence, which also represents adversity. On the first thought, it may sound odd that adversity is involved in creativity, but as a matter of fact, most inventions address adversity. No hunger, no agriculture, no sickness, no medicine, no need to communicate, no telephone. Mind that when a problem arises in the external world, the solution arrives also from within above. When we face adversity, we use our intellect to figure out the cause of adversity. Through prolonged thinking, we arrive at the right question to ask. We focus on the question and, at the same time, open up to the higher self. If we do this long and ardent enough, we will receive an answer from the inside above. Mind the question needs to be poignant. If we ask the higher self what the great work is all about, we wouldn't get an answer. Or rather, we would get an answer, but it would be far too elaborate for our frail intuitional link. But if we ask what the primary characteristic of the first matter is, we will be more likely to grasp the answer. Mendeleev discovered the periodic table through prolonged reasoning. After racking his brain for years, Mendeleev had a dream in which the elements arranged themselves in a table. Also, the idea of the atomic model came to Niels Bohr in a dream. He saw the sun surrounded by all the planets of the solar system tied together with little strings. Albert Einstein dreamt that he rode a sledge in the snow with increasing speed. The sled accelerated to the speed of light, and the surroundings began to fade, and all colors blend into one. These were not dreams. These were initiations that arrived through dreams. Tarot card 6, the Lovers, shows the technicalities. The angel is the initiator who relays his messages through the woman, subconsciousness, dreams, meditation, to the man, self-consciousness. The man represents intelligent self-consciousness. As you can see in the picture, the man looks at the woman and does not see the angel, and may conclude that he derived at the ideas himself. Conceptual ideas. Conceptual ideas are empirical ideas. We arrive at conceptual ideas through associations or combinations of thoughts. Subconsciousness, the uniting intelligence, governs associations. Association is the basic function of subconsciousness. Memory works through association. Associative thinking is a major source of creativity. Steve Jobs said, "Creativity is just connecting things." When you ask creative people how they did something, they feel a little guilty because they didn't really do it, they just saw something. It seems obvious to them after a while. That's because they were able to connect experiences they've had, and they synthesized new things. Steve Jobs combined MP3 player with hard disk and arrived at the idea of the iPod. He combined smartphone with touchscreen and arrived at the idea of the iPhone. Unfortunately, associations are random. Conceptual ideas may work or not, and we need to do a lot of trial and error until we verify whether a conceptual idea is useful or not. Edison used short afternoon naps to catch conceptual ideas. He held a steel ball in his hand while taking a nap. When he fell asleep, the ball dropped and hit the ground, waking him up. As he woke up, he caught a conceptual idea being formulated by his subconsciousness. When someone asked Edison about his missteps, Edison replied, "I have not failed 10,000 times. I have successfully found 10,000 ways that will not work." That's a high number. 10,000 conceptual ideas that didn't work. Considering his success, I suppose the effort was worth it. Mind that Edison was an inventor and he could test his conceptual ideas. In the case of religion and philosophy, verification is rather difficult, and that has been a major source of misery for mankind. How to verify conceptual ideas? A. If the new idea comes with the sense of separation, polarization, or feels weird, key 15, you get a first indication that something is wrong with that idea. B. Next step, you reason about the conceptual idea. That's the emperor. You reason whether the conceptual idea conforms to ageless wisdom or not. C. You consult intuition, the Hierophant. You connect to the higher self and listen to what he has to say. At last, test the idea on reality. Act upon the idea and measure the karmic response. Creative ideas come from above and arrive as inspirations. They bring something new into the world. We arrive at conceptual ideas by connecting the dots. These are new arrangements of ideas and knowledge we already have. Thoughts are Holt's cognitive activities which elaborate creative or conceptual ideas in a logical manner and analyze problems and resistance in the external world. This is important. Ideas and thoughts are very different things. Ideas get thinking processes going. Thoughts are amenable to ideas. The idea is the boss, thoughts are executives. In other words, ideas are intrusive, and this can be dangerous. More about this in the next video. As mentioned earlier, Holt bridges between Bria and the physical world. Hod receives periodic ideas, understands them, makes plans on how to fulfill them, and acts out its plans. I mentioned earlier that we think first how a telephone could work and then we build it. Of course, it doesn't work like that. To make a telephone, Alexander Graham Bell had to go through many tests and trials. Tests and trials are the same thing as the Hod karma cycle. We think, we act, and the external world reacts to our action. And that's the karmic feedback. We analyze the karmic feedback, adjust our actions, and try again. Mind that we don't adapt our creative or conceptual idea during Hod karma cycles. Usually, we don't change what we want to do. We only change how to do it. But we may come to the conclusion that it's not possible to realize our idea and abandon it. In the case of personal creativity, Tifereth stands for ideation. Tifereth is at the center of the tree of life and relays creative impulses from above, Kether to Chesed, to human personality, Netzach to Malkuth. Tifereth conveys creative ideas to Netzach through the 24th path, the imaginative intelligence, illustrated by Tarot card 13, Death. Death means transformation. This indicates that creative ideas are new impulses that always come with change. Change for the better. Netzach turns creative ideas into desires. In Netzach, two things happen. First, Tifereth creative ideas become personal. Second, Netzach charges the idea with emotions or feelings. On the level of Tifereth, the creative idea was still pure, meaning that it had a cosmic or humanitarian purpose. Netzach may add a selfish twist to creative ideas and a personal agenda to Tifereth's cosmic agenda. Through the exciting intelligence, Netzach prods Hod to come up with strategies on how to fulfill its desires. As you can see, Netzach looks inward. Netzach asks, what do I want? Hod is the concrete mind that looks outward. Hod asks, how can I get this to work? Netzach sits on the pillar that deals with the past. Netzach deals with memories, the memories of experiences or inspirations. Hod sits on the pillar that deals with the future, the realization of desires. Since Hod is responsible for fulfilling desires, Hod develops more rapidly than Netzach. Netzach continuously stirs Hod to think up ways to satisfy desires. Hod engages in intellect karma cycles and evolves from the challenges it faces. Hod then gives feedback to Netzach. This upgrades the quality of desires, which become more reasonable, more refined, and more sophisticated. The creative desirous work in Netzach requires its own intelligence. Netzach is the hidden intelligence which hints at the secrets of desires. I will cover that secret or those secrets in a future video about Netzach. Netzach also requires creative energy, which is different from intellectual energy. Only people with a creative profession know that. Don't believe me? Try to bring something into this world that wasn't there before. Paint a picture, write a book, invent something new, or create a new business. You will find that already the first step, getting an inspiration of a creative idea, is a great challenge. Thank you for watching this episode of Between the Pillars. In the next episode, I'll have a closer look at the possible misuses of Hod. Please help to spread the light with a like and a share, and don't forget to subscribe. Love and light.